All right. Well, we got three topics on the docket. We talking the Rays stadium deal. We're talking film incentives, specifically in the Tampa region, but Florida as a whole. And the third that you had us talking about was, remind me real quick, what was the third one?
Florida's population growth.
The population growth. That's right. So, all right. The Rays stadium deal. Based off of the one-liner you had for me earlier, you're a proponent of it. You're happy for it, and all positives for you, right?
Yeah, it's a very half-baked thought.
Okay,
I
have at it. Let me hear
all the thought into it, but I've recently become a baseball fan, and out of watching everything I've watched, the Rays Stadium is probably the worst stadium.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and I get there's reasons for it, but it's the roof. It's the covered roof. That's the biggest thing. Like when you go to a baseball game, and I've been going to games, you want to feel the sun on you. Now it's 108 degrees here, but still, you want to feel the sun and feel the outdoor and the wind. And when the crowd erupts, like you want to kind of hear that noise, like escaping with it. And the Rays doesn't have that. No sunlight. It just feels kind of dark in there, especially when you watch the games. You're like, it's kind of a drab, right?
Yep.
So I think that it'll be good for baseball. For the Rays specifically, that they get the new stadium.
Glass top.
Yes, exactly. So it's still closed because obviously we've got the bad weather.
Yep.
But that glass top, you'll get the sunshine coming in. Maybe they just pump the AC fan so you get the wind feeling.
Yep.
But I think that's a huge improvement. Do you know where it's going to be though? Is it?
I don't know the exact spot, but it's going in in terms of like the exact corner, but they're saying that it's going in the gas plant district, the historic gas plant district. So that has been voted through across the board. Like I said, I don't know like the exact corner. I just, to my understanding, it is the northeast side of downtown St. Pete, if I'm getting my geography right, or if I'm understanding where that historic gas plant district is. I apologize if that's incorrect, but yeah, and they're doing all sorts of home renovations. They're doing commercial lots as well. They're ensuring that it has economic prosperity to the local residents as well, making sure that the homes are not 1.5 million homes only. They're wanting to make sure that there is affordable housing, and that's built into this. It's like 4,000 affordable homes, something to that effect, 5,000 that have to be developed in that region as well, just to ensure that standard residents can afford it and can be there, and it can't just, like I said, be penthouses and how 1.5 and $2 million houses that the average local individual cannot afford. I mean, if it was just because you're next to the stadium in a brand new district that's been built out and all these massive visual pros, but then you're kicking out the people who have always lived in the region and have been locals for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Some people have been born and raised here, and you just can't have it where, you just can't afford it. It's like, oh, cool. Like you can afford a $350,000, $400,000 house, but we're building this area up and you got to get out of here. It's like, that's
why I like that it's in the historical gas district, because from what I can think of, they're not really getting rid of houses that are already existing. They're just taking up land and maybe some stuff that's already on its way out or they've purchased. And then when you were saying about building homes, here's a little bit of a caveat, which I noticed in the writing, is that they are building 5,400 residential units. But this also includes office, bless you, and medical space, bless you again, retail space, hotel rooms, parks, and the Woodson African American Museum of Florida.
Yeah, the museum's cool. I saw a little bit of like the first renderings of that, and I was like, that's pretty baller.
But here's where I get caught up on the caveat. Out of 5,400 residential units, does that also include the hotel rooms?
To my understanding, residential units
is
is
homes,
is
apartments,
homes. Yes,
condos.
yes, all
Could
of
it be
them.
like a handful of condos? And
Yeah, it could be.
because that's what I'm thinking. If you got 5,400, and 200 of those are kicked out immediately by condos, just a handful of condos fills that up. And high-rise condos, we are talking economically friendly and affordable housing.
Yeah.
Condos, high-rises aren't affordable.
No, they're not. No, they tend not to be. And I mean, there's already two big skyscrapers, condo becoming visually there. I'll just say that in downtown St. Pete. Brittany and I just went there last week for a date night downtown St. Pete. Went to the sushi place down there, walked around, had a great time. And there are two very large condos in development, very, very much so. So I hope that's not the case. Obviously, I want a little more detail. Keep my ears open, and it's a situation where it's, in my opinion, very beneficial for the Rays to stay here. Significant amount of jobs. I mean, I used to be a freelancer for the Rays. Back in the day, talking 2014 to 2018, so like 4 years. I think I was a freelancer on their video production staff for game days.
Yeah.
So put money in my pocket. I saw just the insane amount of people that got jobs because of it. Like you just walk in, and 90 minutes before a game starts, and you just see people everywhere just working.
I mean, security, janitorial, food, beverage, like the people who are. What are they called? The guys who kind of help you to your seats.
Oh yeah, the chauffeurs, the ushers.
Ushers, yeah.
Yeah.
The peanut guys, like when I had first gone there, I was like, "There's this many people working here."
Yeah, it's insane.
Same with like the Lightning Stadium and all that.
Yep.
You forget how many people are actually employed by these places.
And it's crazy, and it's you just being a part of that. Back in the day, it was crazy beneficial to get games. I mean, 81 games, and I was always trying to have 50, 60 on my schedule just to have additional income and get into the industry a little bit more, being a video pro.
Being in the camera crew, is it supplemental income, or could you have made a living off of that?
I still to this day know a dozen people who are full-time freelancers. Now, just having all 81 games isn't enough to survive on, but if you are putting in 81 games, you're also putting in games at the Lightning. Your entire March is completely and utterly consumed with every baseball game known to man here. I mean, there are people that March alone, just because of spring training. You have spring training with the Clearwater Phillies, New York Yankees. You have the Dunedin Blue Jays, all right here. I mean, those three they're all 20 minutes apart from one another.
Yeah.
And the ones that expand outward a little bit, you have the Lakeland Astros, I believe, right? The Astros are in Lakeland. Lakeland, Detroit Tigers are in Lakeland. So that's not that far of a drive. That's only an extra 40 minutes. Like, that's nothing crazy. And if you're getting broadcast games, you're getting broadcast rates. You also have the Baltimore Orioles in Sarasota.
Yeah.
So
Pirates and Bradenton.
Pirates and Bradenton. That's 6 in a very friendly geographic region. 6 right in our little triangle Tampa Bay region. And if you have that, your entire I know two buddies of mine that when March hits, they're pretty much working like 28 of 31 days. Wow. That's all they're doing is baseball, and more baseball. And they do a great job, and they put in a lot of time that month. But when that money hits, they're good for a quarter of their year just because of 1 month. It's insane.
Yeah.
And then it goes into real baseball season, and a lot of those guys are working broadcast games, whether it's for the Rays or for the Yes Network. For when the Yankees come into town multiple times a year, Boston's network, they get in with all these crews, and they're just putting in time.
Did we even mention the Yankee Stadium in Tampa?
Yeah,
that
was one of the 6.
Crazy. This is what I've gathered, and it's just like peer-to-peer information. But everyone that I have talked to about this personally, they don't drive much. Like, they're not. This is the big issue that's always been around with the Tropicana Field, is that you have to cross a bridge to get to it. There's no way around it. If you're coming from Tampa, if you're coming from Clearwater, you've got to cross a bridge. And a lot of people in our area don't like going over the bridges if they don't have to.
Yep.
If you do, I know you said you did a date night in St. Pete, but where are your date nights the majority of the time? Are they
Clearwater?
Go over a bridge?
Clearwater. So, obviously, like Clearwater to St. Pete, there's no bridge, but it is a 30-minute drive.
Well, you got to get on the highway.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. You have to hop on the highway to like get there in a reasonable amount of time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can take US 19, not technically that's a highway, right? Like I guess in a weird, I don't know how infrastructure works or like what qualifies for a highway and not
US
a highway.
Stand for.
Yeah, right. I would think that US 19 probably classifies as a highway.
I would say it's a highway.
But all right, cool. Someone in the comments is probably going to tell me that's not a highway. I actually want to know if that's a highway. That's cool. Now, we normally stay in Clearwater, Largo region for date nights. We'll go out to the beach line. We got a few spots that we really like that, it's kind of locals, primarily locals.
Or even think about the people in Sarasota. They're not driving from Sarasota to go see an MLB game.
I mean, only if it's a game that they truly want to see. Are they going regularly? No way. No way. But I mean, if they want, if they're a big Rays fan and they're like, hey, I'm gonna deal with the traffic, I'm gonna deal with everything, and I'm gonna go see a Red Sox game. I want the environment. They'll come up for one or two games, but I mean, like, you have to be a die-hard season ticket holder to go to anything more than like 5 games in a year.
Right. I think with all of our spring training places that you were mentioning is that this has been my experience. It's so much easier to just go to a Dunedin Blue Jays game.
Yep.
It's the same price for tickets, $10. So I could pay $10 and go 3 minutes down the road from my house and go watch that game versus drive half an hour, 40 minutes to St. Pete.
Yep.
To go watch. It's a higher level player,
of course,
but the atmosphere, don't really like it. It's still a $10 ticket, and I'm not going to pay more than that to go there when it's empty half the time.
Yep.
So if they can build this, you know what I always thought it needed? Just paint the building. If they just painted the Tropicana Field on the outside with some beautiful murals, that could have helped tremendously and been a lot cheaper.
I wonder if was it, I don't know, was it ever discussed, like, just get rid of the roof and like add some sort of like.
I think the roof was discussed, but it was like so much money and that sort of stuff, and it's probably easier to get the money from the city and the state to build something brand new when they're including the development of the whole area.
Yeah, and I don't think they have to leave for a season. I think they can continue to play at Tropicana while the development's happening, and then just literally from one season to the next transfer over.
Yeah.
Which all that has to happen by 2027, 2028, 2027.
Expected to be ready before the end of the lease of the Tropicana Field in 2027.
Okay, so because the lease ends, they need to move over so that way they're not renewing, spending more money on a 1-year renewal. And then my guess is Tropicana Field, the current Tropicana Field, is going to get demoed. I mean, like, let's kind of call it what it is.
I was wondering that.
Like, I don't.
What's going to go in there?
There's no.
You know what could go in there? Basketball.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do a retrofit conversion to
become an NBA team, because they're all covered anyway. The Orlando Stadium's covered.
100%.
Yeah. NBA team.
That'd be kind of cool. So I'd be down for that. I'd be down to go see a basketball game, like local. So. I'm more of a baseball person, just in general, like watching day to day and like paying attention. But a basketball game is pretty cool to see. So, but I'm partial to that because I grew up in Indiana with the Indiana Pacers, so saw a few games there. Went to Florida State. Florida State had a really good team my 4 years that were there, so saw a lot of basketball games for that. So basketball environments are pretty cool. But we also have the Lightning, so a little bit of a great trade-off.
Trifecta.
Yeah, that's true. Tampa, I don't even know because the Lightning are taken. So what do you call the Tampa team?
I have no idea. So let's just cap this subject off on what is your just general opinion? Are you pro or con?
If I can only give you one, I am pro. I have a few minor issues, but overall, yes, pro deal, pro them staying. Pro all of it, yes.
Yeah, me too. I think that I've got no problem with people coming to Florida, that our city gets built up. Like, there's obviously the issues of affordability, and you don't want to get kicked out of your area.
Correct.
Because everything's getting more expensive and people are flying in who make more money. But I love that this place is getting more and more beautified, really.
Yep.
You know, Clearwater just got redone. Dunedin's been working over the years of getting redone.
Correct.
It'll be good for St. Pete, I think, overall. Tampa just had the Water Street basically in the past 5 to 8 years, all that done. So then coming over to the population growth, and we were talking a little bit before, my wonder is Florida's population growth, is it better for us? Does it hinder us? And specifically, how does it, from your opinion, impact the film community and video photo production?
It's in my opinion, it's very negative for the video production. Yep. Yeah, I didn't think you. I knew you were not expecting that as my answer.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So yeah, it is a negative in my opinion having so many people coming here for the video production industry. There are a lot of people coming to Florida just as a whole. I think if filmmakers, production companies come to this region, I sincerely believe they're going to be suffering. We have a significant amount of talent here as it is, and we just hit one of the worst summers for video professionals in recent memory. And there was not nearly enough work for the people that were here, and it was eye-opening how many people I was hearing say, slowest month I've ever had, slowest month I've ever had, slowest summer I've ever had, second slowest month I've ever had, like crazy. And it's always known that June, July, August is pretty slow.
Yeah.
But to hear slowest month I've ever had, second slowest month I've ever had, slowest summer I've ever had, I mean, and this isn't just by like 2 people. I'm talking, this is, I heard this from 12, 15 people. I mean, it's crazy. Even us as a company, it was crazy how few productions we had in July. And you know, I've been here long enough, been here since 2012, and yeah, I would say that it probably was our slowest July since 2020.
Wow.
And like, you know, obviously 2020 has its own little caveat, so you kind of remove that from the equation and you still go, wow, that's our slowest month that we've had in recent memory. Like, that's crazy. And it's very common to hear less and less work, but it's crazy because from my vantage point, the productions are still here. Mm-hmm. The amount of productions are still here. Some of those budgets have been cut, so less crew are being hired. And if there are more pros fighting for the same amount of jobs, if not less, which is probably less, quite frankly, that's not good. So if you're having multiple professionals moving to our region saying, oh, I want to get out of New York, I want to get out of Georgia, I want to get out of Michigan, and just whatever they're coming from, right? Like, name, you know, if they're trying to move from 49 other states and they're trying to move here and they're trying to move to our region, that's not good for our industry, because you're having more people fight for the same amount of jobs. And once you latch on to your crew, you don't really let go of them. I mean, they're tried and true, they're trusted. We get inquiries every week. There's at least, at minimum, one person every single week that reaches out to us. Hey, is there any work? You know, I'm new to the area. I just graduated, whatever the case may be, right? Every week, I see at least one of those, minimum. So if you're talking in a year, that's 52 people. I would honestly say it's probably closer to 75 or 80 of these inquiries throughout the year. So this is a high volume issue, in my opinion, because the work needs to grow for these 500 extra professionals that are in the area to be able to survive. Otherwise, they're going to have to find another career, or they're going to have to move again. And it sucks because a lot of those guys, individuals, guys and girls, are talented, insanely talented, but there's just not enough work to feed them and their families while also catering to the locals that have been here. Yeah. I mean, I see there's a key grip in the area, and she's good. She's real good. And we've been bringing her on a few jobs here and there when we can. And she's slow, constantly slow. And I'm just like, that sucks because she's good.
Yeah.
But she's trying to break through all the additional locals that have been here for, just as long, if not longer. And more people are coming in, fighting for that, maybe taking lower wages, which are helping production companies stay under budget or at budget or under budget. And that's a problem too, right? Like if a certain rate is supposed to be 700 for whatever position, let's just say, it's supposed to be 700 and people are coming in and taking 500. Well, that's saving production money. And a lot of line producers are going to take that as a win, rightfully so. I get it. But that is a problem because are they supposed to be going back to that 700 rate more often, or are they going to now say, well, I've gotten people who have taken this rate at 500, so I'm just going to look for someone who's at 500?
I mean, if I'm a business owner, I'm keeping it at 500. Like, because if I'm getting people who are just as hungry for the work, who are doing just as good of a job and possibly better, and they're charging less for their contract work, then I'm going to keep it at 500 and go for that.
And I have a problem with that because, I mean, like, I sincerely do everything in our power to keep rate.
Well, that's why I was thinking that as far as what you're talking about, it seems to me that it's the production company's fault, that they're at fault, because it's such a hard industry for filmmakers to exist in, to make money and thrive. Now, a lot of them do it, from what I could tell, just because they really love it. It's their passion. The money is second. But there are people who we could talk about all day long that are struggling and trying to keep it afloat, and they'll have sidebars with us where they're like, oh, it's been super slow, I've got to dip into my savings, and savings is running out during different periods of the year. That's a hard lifestyle to manage, having to save up all your money and then go through these big dips and not really know what the next few months are going to look like. Every quarter is going to be different. Versus there's production companies that I see that aren't, let's go big established production companies, that I don't see hiring the grips, hiring the gaffers, like having them on full time as your staff, versus you'll get like a bay of 9 editors, but you'll just contract and freelance these guys out to do. I mean, the grips, the G&E, they're the ones who are making the production. If you're not, obviously the camera guy needs to be there, but they're making everything happen.
Yeah.
And the fact that I don't see these well-established production companies hiring them on full-time, I think they're the problem, because then these guys got to go and then the rates go down. They got to fight for what they can get. These well-established locals, now they have to drop their 700 to 5 because these new guys are hungry and willing to do it. I would love to see these people. I mean, they're friends of ours, like peers. Why are you not on staff somewhere making $90,000 a year? Like, you're the one who's making everything look so pretty. I wish I saw that. And if you're a smaller production company, I tear it off of, like, how many editors do you have? Do you need 10 editors? Probably not, Does every intern you have to be an editor as well? Like, no. Get these guys. I've always said, I hate when people tell me they want to be a DP, because everybody wants to be a DP. I love the people who say they want to be a grip, they want to be a gaffer, and that sort of stuff. But I feel bad for them internally because I know you're kind of getting into the struggle lifestyle. Yep. Fisher, come here.
He's joining the party today.
Yeah. So what, I mean, you're a production company owner. We're established, but we're not that big. We don't have a bay of editors. There's 5 of us here. It's not 30. Do you have opinions on that?
Well, 5 total people, not just editors.
Yeah.
So,
5 total people. Good point.
Yeah, 5 total people. We have 1 full-time editor.
Right. Fisher.
Man, I have had the thought multiple times to have a full-time G&E person. That is all they do is drive the van. They're on.
They're on every production.
They would be on every production.
Every
it's
one.
like, hey, we have whatever, 100 jobs a year, you're on 100 jobs.
Yeah.
You're the one bringing the gear in and out. You're driving. You're doing all these things. I've had the thought. I mean, seriously. I mean, in a lot of ways, it would help us. The cost is tough.
Yeah.
It's insanely difficult to make that number work because you're having to guarantee the work up front to justify the cost that a full-timer is going to want.
Yep.
And rightfully so deserve. Because there's been, there's 2-3 dozen jobs a year that we can just handle internally and not hire somebody. So that's a cost savings. I mean,
but don't you think that if there's a gaffer on it, it's going to look a lot better?
Yeah.
And when your productions look a lot better, you get to charge more.
Yep.
That's my thing.
Yep.
That's where I get stuck on. It's like, but if you don't have them, then you're missing a key element.
I know.
And then if you take someone who, like internally, we can light something to make something pretty.
Yep.
But whenever there's a budget, we bring in a gaffer.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know they can do it better.
Yep.
And when we cut them out and don't have them, and we do it ourselves, we know that we're eliminating a factor here.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a difference. I mean, I think I've teased this a few times this year. We're eyeballing a sixth person.
I think with the population growth, something that we focus on this whole time is that the population of filmmakers, production crew members, that sort of stuff. But we're actually getting a lot of business owners, correct, people who are going to build their own businesses, and outside of the production people, because that's kind of like the immediate threat analysis that comes in. It's more production people. Okay, we've got some problems, but there's going to be a lot of small businesses opening up. There's going to be a lot of people who are doing medium, and hopefully we're getting those large corporations coming in as well.
Or staying. You also just don't want. You also don't want them to leave.
But I think my thought is that with all those people coming in, there needs to be an establishment period. So these people who are coming in and building a business probably need 3 years to get established and have the funding to then hire production crews to do their commercials, to do all that asset creation, social media, all the fun stuff. So I think that we're seeing everybody coming in with the biggest boom happening this year, the population influx. But in 2027, I think we'll see a lot more jobs coming in, because now all these 23 million people that moved to Florida are established. I don't know the exact number on everyone coming to Tampa, but we feel it. We see high rises going up. There's a new one every day.
Yep.
But like I said, once those people get established, I think then we'll see a lot more money coming in for productions. By 2027, the battle with AI might be a struggle, but I really do believe that.
It's a different fight every year, right?
Yeah.
Like in some capacity, you're fighting for your life. You're trying to expand. You're trying to maintain. You're trying to keep. You're trying to go into a new, have another market share. There's something every year. And I agree with that. I think as a production company, thankfully, we are established and only becoming more and more entrenched in this region, with more notoriety, more on our reel, more under our portfolio, more under our belt and experience. We're growing, and as long as we can keep that growth going, we're going to be fine. Companies that are coming in and trying to start from scratch or become something, they have a tough time ahead of them. They have a very tough time ahead of them. We, as a established company, along with all the other established production companies in the region, we're salivating at all the people coming to this area, because, to your point, more people means more businesses. More people equals more businesses equals more revenue for us, and more jobs and more job opportunities. I think we have a lot of good coming to us because we have already been here and we're established. And I actually don't think it's going to take until 2027. I think we're going to see it in 2026. I think it's going to hit us a year earlier than you think.
I hope so. I mean, sooner the better, honestly. So there's all the people coming in. We've pros and cons. it's kind of hard to get into this because I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Our next topic is the film industry in Florida. Mm-hmm. And we've been to a lot of meetings, do a lot of marketing events, and what we've come to gather is that the film industry only can give incentives if lodging does really well and tourism does really well. Mm-hmm. With the population growth, we're seeing a lot more people coming in. I don't know if they're not really supplying lodging. They're going to buying houses up. So they're not going to hotels. There's no lodging fees that we're going to end up getting. These 23 million coming to Florida, there's no lodging. They're not tourists after a year. They're not tourists. They live here, right?
Yep.
So we're not going to see that. So kind of my worry is, and this is where we can dive into the film industry and Florida and incentives is all that, is that's happening. People are moving in no matter what. Yep. How does the tourism improve? How does the lodging improve? And how does that actually benefit us? So we can identify people moving here, making businesses helps us. People coming in and doing lower rate, we don't necessarily agree with it, but it does help production companies kind of as a whole. It's good for the business, bad for the contractor. But then how does this actually help us with getting incentives to make bigger and better projects? I don't really know. So I'm kind of leaning on you for your thoughts on it.
This year, the Florida-wide Office of Entertainment and Film was dissolved. And it was consolidated with another department. I forget, the name is eluding me. So you still can get like the tax exemption. You still can get some statewide film elements addressed, but the entire department is gone. Honestly, I've already noticed an issue with that because there's a statewide document that we get renewed every year, and it's been a month. I've submitted all the paperwork. I haven't received it.
Oh.
And I had to send a follow-up last week and was like, hey, can I get that?
So what does the document mean for the business, for anyone who doesn't know?
So it's a tax exemption for those that are in the film production company, as a film production company, and you have to meet certain criteria to have this tax exemption. So we don't pay taxes on a few things. That's nothing like revolutionary or crazy, but...
Are you worried we're just not going to get it because it's been a month?
Well, we have to get it because it's owed to us, and I think it's just because the film office doesn't exist anymore and it got consolidated and most of the people were laid off, and it's like one person or two people now that are now operating within a consolidated branch under 10 other people, so I just think that the email just hasn't been addressed yet because whoever's handling that now either has multiple responsibilities, which is a problem, right? Or they're so inundated because they're just one person, not 10, or one person, not 100, whatever the math was on personnel, that they can only get through so many in a day, right? And is it even deemed priority? Is it a high, medium, or low priority? They've seen the email from me and 100 other companies, but it's deemed low priority. So they're like, I'll get to it when I get to it because my supervisor tells me it's a low priority item. It's like they're doing their job and they're doing the best of their ability. So I'm not mad at anybody in particular. I'm just like, hey, this document we're supposed to receive, where is it? So little bit of a problem on that one. Not really happy about that in the sense of like,
I don't blame you.
Should have it, and
you want to keep all your ducks in order, and then if someone's withholding something, even if it's not intentional, it's still
literally any day now it's going to be a problem for us.
Yeah.
Like when I tell you like it could be a problem tomorrow, I'm not exaggerating. Like the next day, 2 days, 3 days, it's going to be an issue. Like there's zero exaggeration to that statement. So that alone is a problem. And then because they don't exist anymore, there is even less bandwidth to push through large film projects in all these different counties because they were aiding in films happening here in Florida. and they would recommend Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Miami-Dade County, Orange County. Like, they literally would recommend, hey, based off of what you're asking for, you should talk to Tyler at the Tampa Film Commission, or you should talk to Lisa in the Pinellas Film County. Like, they literally would recommend, which then would help, right? Because some films don't know where they want to go. They want to be in Florida for XYZ reason, right? They want to replicate a beach line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, you need to talk to Lisa. Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Pinellas County has some of the best beaches. That's who you need to talk to. Oh, perfect. It's second nature to us to think to go to the beaches right here, but some people don't. They write a whole script. They're getting funded. They got greenlit for a $1.5 million project, and they're like, oh well, my city that I created in this film is a Florida city, and it's meant to replicate that. Where do I go? And they maybe have like 5 beaches that they've thought about, and they reach out to the Florida branch. But now that doesn't exist anymore. So those recommendations. It's funny. Tyler Marinolich in Tampa. He was quoted in some article. I'd have to find it, but he was quoted in some article as saying, like, it's as if we put a big close sign on our state by removing the film, the statewide film office.
Oh,
like,
wow.
we're closed for business, and it feels that way.
Wow. I can't believe you said that.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. It feels that way at times. These local entities are doing their best, and they're doing a dang good job. I mean, our Pinellas one they're working. I don't know if it's passed just yet, but they're working to increase our local grant money to give back to filmmakers and big projects that are here.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it passes. Sincerely hope it passes. And then when it passes, I would love to see what the increase is. Like, do we see 10 larger projects happening in a year? 5 larger projects? The same? I don't know. But there's only one way to find out, is by seeing how it progresses, right?
I was in Georgia years ago, like maybe 5 years ago. And I went into this production studio, and I was talking to the owner. He just happened to be there. And I didn't know much about Georgia and Atlanta. And I said, what are your thoughts about productions here? Is it busy? This is probably like around the time I wanted to move to Atlanta, which was never going to happen. My wife wouldn't allow it. But he asked me where I'm from. I said, Tampa. He said, oh, you're not going to exist as a film industry in 5 years, which we do still, but it's definitely, there's issues. And I asked him why, and he was kind of an a-hole. Like, it wasn't really thrilled that this random guy was walking into his studio and trying to talk to him. He said, you'll see. Everyone's going to come here. Look at all the movies that are done here. And he was naming at the time big movies.
I mean, they're all there still.
Yeah. And I said, okay. And this was probably before the rise of volume walls, or before they were really popular. And the fact that Florida can just be recreated on volume walls, and you don't have to do things here. And you said there's been no state tax incentives. Mm-hmm. You just said they closed this office. Why wouldn't I just go to Georgia, where there are tax incentives? Mm-hmm. There is all sorts of bonuses for going there. Mm-hmm. They'll fund your marketing. They'll help fund your productions, your set builds. And I could just go to a volume wall and recreate what Florida looks like.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's limitations with that. However, you can get a decent way into your production that manner. And maybe you just do maybe those, instead of, let's say they have 25 days of principal photography, right? What they'll do is, if it's like super insanely critical to have this Florida element, XYZ, right? Whatever, right? The Miami skyline, actually perfect example. The latest Bad Boys movie, Bad Boys 4, is that what they're on? Bad Boys 4? Idea. Yeah. They shot several scenes in Miami because Miami is their home. To my knowledge, I could be very wrong about this, and I apologize if I am, but to my knowledge, all of production did not take place in Miami.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I heard that as well.
I do not know the math on it. Was it half of production happened in Miami, a quarter, a third, 75%? I don't know the math. But to my knowledge, they did not shoot all of it in Miami, even though quite literally the backdrop of Bad Boys in all the movies is Miami.
Yeah.
That's a problem. If the movie takes place in Miami, start to finish, and all of the production doesn't happen in Miami, start to finish. Insert problem. Yeah. Right? Like
this is a wild idea, but I would think in a perfect world, you shouldn't be able to use certain city visuals on volume walls. Like block the ability to do that.
I don't know how that would work.
Copyright it.
That'd be crazy.
Copyright it.
That'd be crazy.
You can't use our skyline if you're not coming to our state to do it.
That'd be crazy.
I mean, could be a bad idea, but
I don't know.
Make it impossible.
They'll just make up fictional cities.
Yeah, they will.
Which has happened. I mean, there's Florida Man, the TV show on Netflix, that takes place in a fictional Florida city.
Yeah. Oh.
So
it's a bad idea. But still, you want to see something like happen where you have to come here.
Then the state would just say, well, you can't make up a city in Florida.
Yeah.
They trademark the state.
I mean, so I was kind of out of the know about the tax incentives. I've never really paid too much attention to that. The office is insane. We've been on calls. We've been in the room or the Zoom calls or whatever it is with Film Tampa Bay, with Film St. Pete Clearwater, and we are seeing them pushing to bring some form of incentives. I don't know how they do it, the technical formalities, but for instance,
that tax is a big one.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm seeing right now a bump up in incentives, however they want to help it. I mean, I know there's kind of yellow tape around getting it done, which is a good thing for all intents and purposes. You want to make sure the money goes to the right place. So I'm excited about that. I get the feeling that not enough people know about it.
I hope I get, one or two of those incentives for various jobs. I hope another company down the road does too. Like, seriously, it does help us all. And the local ones that have been here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we've put in our work and we're continuing to work. It's not like we're just like, oh, we're done working now. It's like, no, we're hustling daily. Speaking of hustling, I'm gonna get back to work. We're at our time, and
close.
I got things to do.
Final words before we log out of here.
Final words is we do in fact truly wholeheartedly love Tampa Bay, Sarasota region. Tampa Bay, St. Pete, Clearwater. Have nothing but love for the region. We're here for the long haul. We're not going anywhere. That's my final thoughts.
Love it. I totally agree.
All right, my dude. Talk to you in a little bit.
Goodbye.
Bye.